If you guys are anything like me, when you see a cool effect on a website, you ask yourself, can Muse do that? And recently I saw an effect on the iTunes store, and it was that as the window gets smaller, the artwork starts to overlap. So let me preview this in the browser real quick. And we've got this row of artwork down here, and as I make the window smaller, the artwork overlaps. It doesn't get squished, it doesn't shrink, it just overlaps like a stack of artwork. I thought that was a really cool effect. And the answer is yes, Adobe Muse can do that. And it's actually really easy to pull off. And we even have some subtle drop shadows here where those overlaps take place. And this is all happening within Muse. So let me go to my in progress page here. And the setup, I'm not going to bore you with the setup. This is just a bunch of pictures that are placed next to one another. And the default behavior for pictures when you drop them onto a canvas, even if they're arranged in such a way that they're sort of set up to do this accordion effect, they will by default shrink when you scale the browser. So let me preview this real quick, and you can see that happening there. They're all shrinking together. They're trying to stick together edge to edge. And the reason for that is if you select an image, or more importantly, we're going to have to do it to all of them. So I'm going to select all of these. And I did it the long way by holding Shift because there are some elements behind this that I don't want to select. So that's why I did it the long way there. And with all these selected on the toolbar at the top, you can see resize is set to responsive width and height. So step one, we don't want to do that. We want to leave the size alone. We want to keep them at the same size and just have them start to overlap one another. So I'm going to switch that to none. And let's see what that looks like, because we're going to be close, but we're not going to quite be there yet. And you'll notice that they're kind of bunching up in an arbitrary way, and this is where you start to think, okay, I'm not getting the effect that I want. But we could just rearrange the layers and get really close to already being done pulling off this effect. So let's go here and let's bring this to the front. And this is how I like to do it. You can do this however you want. But what I'm going to do is bring this to the front, then this to the front, then this to the front, then this to the front. Because you can't really go wrong. They're all going to end up in the right order because we're going to do this in the right order, and they're going to be on top of one another in the order that we do it. So with this first one selected, the one on the far right, I'm going to do Shift Command and the right bracket. If you're on a PC, I believe that's Shift Control and the right bracket, but I'm on a Mac, so it's Shift Command and the right bracket. That is bring to front. You can also do a two-finger click, and you can choose Arrange, and you can do, there it is, bring to front. But that's the long way to do it, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do Shift Command right bracket on each one of these in order from right to left, because I want the one on the left to be on top. You can do this in the opposite order if you want. That is A-OK. And then I'm going to preview this in the browser, and there is pretty much my entire effect. I just need my shadows on there. That's really all. So I'm going to go and select all these again. Get my shadows going here. I'm going to go up to Effects at the top, and I'm going to turn on Shadow on the first tab of the effects here. Now, it remembers my settings from earlier. I'm going to do an opacity of 15%, very subtle. A blur of 10 pixels, so it's going to be nice and soft. The distance is only 5. I don't want a huge shadow. I just want the shadow to stick out a little bit and be soft. And an angle of 0. And 0 is going to make it go from left to right. It's going to be cast off the right side. If you guys are doing this in the opposite order so that the artwork on the right is in the front, then you want your angle to be 180, so it goes out the other side. 180 reverses it to go out the other side. So 15, 10, 0, 5, those are my settings. My shadow color is black, and that's going to give me the effect that I want, but everyone's different. And another thing to note with the order is you might want the middle one to be in the front. So if you want the middle one to be in the front, if you have an odd number, you can just go back and do this again from right to left. You could do Shift Command right bracket, Shift Command right bracket, Shift Command right bracket, all the way to the middle, and then stop at the middle. Now the ones over here, you may, well, let's preview it in the browser. Let's see what it looks like, because it's not going to be quite what we're looking for. See how these are wrong and these are right? So you may have to do this 2 times. You may have to go from right to left and then from left to right, but stop in the middle. I'm going to start at the left. I'm going to do Shift Command right bracket, Shift Command right bracket, Shift Command right bracket, and then all the way to the middle, Shift Command right bracket again. So preview this in the browser again, and now they are in sort of a pyramid where the middle one is on top. Now, one last thing that I want to show you guys is if you have these bunched up and you don't want them to go all the way across, say you want them to go halfway across and then you want to put text to the right, you can select all these. And this is a new shortcut in Adobe Muse. You hold the Option key and you can grab the handle on the right-hand side. And while you're holding option, which is Alt on a PC, and dragging, it's going to adjust the spacing instead of the size, and it's going to bunch them up. So I could bunch these all up on the left-hand side, and I could have some text on the right-hand side like this. And I'll preview this in the browser, and I still get my responsive bunching effect. It's very subtle now because they don't have to move as far. And then I've got my text, which eventually collides, so this is where you'd want to add a breakpoint if you were designing this for real. But that's the idea, is that the bunching you have control over using this brand new keyboard shortcut. So I thought this would be a cool opportunity to throw that at you guys, because that shortcut definitely comes in handy when you're doing stuff like this, where the spacing needs to stay the same between the objects, but you have a bunch of objects and you don't want to do it one by one. That would be a pain. Now that's essentially it. I know some of you are probably curious about this effect that was on the original that I showed you guys, where it fades in, the text fades in, and a black background fades in behind the text, darkening the image. That's achieved using the new widget, Move for Muse. It's actually a pack of 7 widgets. You can see that I have it installed here. You can go to museresources.com. There's a big link at the top of the page, or you can go to moveformuse.com and you can download those widgets. It's a package of 7 widgets. They all come together. They apply different effects in different ways with different timing. And it's really fantastic, and the feedback has been phenomenal. All 7 for only $20. So if you guys like my tutorials, you like what I do, you can support them and support that by purchasing the Move for Muse, which I'll put a link in the description below the video. But if you guys like this tutorial, please subscribe if you haven't already. I'll have more cool stuff coming soon. Next week, I'm going to show you guys a couple of things. 1, how to do this using Move for Muse. And 2, I want to show you guys how to use what's called a state button to put all of these pieces of album artwork into a single hyperlink. Because you may want to, since they bunch up, it's kind of unfair to ask people to click the one that they want to click, because they might be overlapping and you can't really see what they are. But it would be fair to make all of them work together as one single hyperlink that goes to a page that maybe has all the artwork spread out with maybe the name of each album. So we'll tackle that next week. So subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next week.